Hey guys, how's it going? So, seeing as in this video you're actually going to see my face, I figured I might as well introduce myself. I'm John Weinberger, the creator of these interactive tutorials. So, we're on video 9 right now, and we just finished our player object where we can do anything we want. And I'm telling you right now that this episode is where you will probably hate me, you're going to hate yourself, you're going to hate the tutorial, but this is how you're going to learn. This will be the most interactive tutorial that I've done so far. Now, we have our player, we can move left and right, we can shoot, the prefab follows it, and it deletes when it goes off the screen. So what we want to do is make an enemy. Now, what you're thinking is, okay, yeah, I want to make an enemy, but how do I do it? I'm going to tell you how to do it, and then you're going to do it. I'm not going to show you any code examples, I'm not going to tell you what you got to do. I'm going to write out what's needed, and then with the skills you've learned so far, you can create this, okay? So, for starters, what's the first thing we do when we typically start a new script? Because obviously you're going to need a new script. You're going to name it enemy, and then also when you're making your new object, which, by the way, I'm going to give you this one, the new object is going to be a sphere, okay? So your enemy object is a sphere. Go ahead and create a new material for it, and give that material color for the enemy. I pick red because red is typically bad for a bad guy. So go ahead and make a material red and go ahead and drag and drop it on your enemy. Now go ahead and make a new C# script enemy, and the first thing you should do is you're going to cache your transform. This is going to allow us to call my transform. Okay? So the next thing on the list is you have to decide what you want. So we want our enemy, and if you ever play Galaga, what do the enemies do? The enemies come from the top and shoot down. They go straight down and they come at all different places, and they come at different speeds too. So what we want to do is we want to set variables for these operations. So let's go and create a variable, minimum speed. Okay, so I'm just going to say var min speed, and then we're also going to want a variable max speed, okay, because we don't want just one speed, we want multiple speeds. So let's have a minimum speed it can go and a maximum speed it can go. So go ahead and create another variable, maximum speed, max speed. Okay guys, so what we have here is we cached our transform and we created two variables, a minimum speed that the enemy can go and a maximum speed that can go. And obviously it's going to be falling downwards. So what we need to do now is we need to introduce a new method, and you're going to have to look it up. If you remember the destroy method, I had you look up the reference manual on destroy. And it's going to be very similar to what you just did with that. And the method is called random, okay? You're going to look up the method random, okay? Putting just quotes right here. Okay, random. And what this is going to do is random will allow us to pick one number between your minimum speed and your max speed. Now, once it does that, we have to set that number to a variable. So what do you think you have to do? You probably have to create another variable. So when you have a method random, choose between a speed in between these two. So say for instance you did minimum speed equals 5 and maximum speed equals 10. The random method is going to take a number between 5 and 10 and pick it. And then we have to name that number something. So what do you think we should name that number? Well, if that's the number our enemy is going to get, what do you say we make it current speed? So go ahead and make a variable current speed. Okay, so variable current speed. Variable current speed. Okay, so we have our current speed, we have our minimum speed, and we have our maximum speed. Now, what you should do is you should define your minimum and your maximum values, but do not define your current speed because we don't know what the current speed is. It's going to be random, right? So you should by now have looked up the random method, or pause the video and look up the random method. So what we need to do now is in our start function, we need to define what our current speed is. Because if you notice, we put our minimum speed, gave it a value. Our maximum speed, gave it a value. But then we took the random method to pick any number in between the minimum and max, and now we have our current speed. But we didn't give our current speed a number, we don't know it yet. So what we need to do is we need to use our random method to name our current speed. So in your start method, what you want to do is you want to make a variable, current speed. All right, it's not going to be public, you're just going to do current speed. You can also do, I believe you can do public float. You have to mess around with that, not 100%, but you don't need to do that. So in the start method, what you would do is you would write current speed, and then you're going to equal it to something. Okay? And what you're going to equal this to is you're going to equal this to the number that's generated from your random method. So current speed is going to equal any number between minimum speed and maximum speed. So if my minimum speed is 5, my maximum speed is 10, any number between there, so that means my random number is going to be 7. Okay? Randomly. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 6, maybe it's 8, maybe it's 10. It's going to be a random number, and then it's going to be assigned to current speed. Okay? So what we want to do is when you define your current speed and you set it equal to your random method, what you need to do is now you need to set the position of the enemy. So in order for us to set the position of the enemy, we need to set an X, Y, and Z. Now, we could just do obviously, we can do the game object position, which is my transform.position, and we can set it to a new vector 3, which is a new position, and give it an X, Y, Z value. But what we want to do is we want to make it to where the Y value for the enemy is above where the screen starts. We don't want to be able to see the enemy when it starts. We want it to be able to come down and randomly appear on the screen in front of our eyes. So my recommendation is on mine, based on what I remember, my values were 8, okay? So my Y position was 8. That was right above where my screen ended. The max I can actually see on my screen is 7. So I put it 1 above there to where it's going to come down and I'll see it. Come down 1 and then I can see it. So what you want to do is you're going to want to set your Y to 8, your Z to 0, and then we want your X to randomly move between left and right. Okay? So the X position is always going to be changing. We want, just like our current speed, we want our X to be changing. So we know that with the current speed, we set it to a random method, and then we gave it a range between minimum speed and maximum speed. Okay? So for our position, what we want to do is do the same thing. We want our Y to stay the same, but we want our X to change, and we want our Z to stay the same. So how do we do this? First thing we do is we need to make more variables. We need to declare what Y is, we need to declare what Z is, and we need to declare what X will be. So the way you can do that is go ahead and make a variable, and then call it X, and then here's what you can do. You can make a comma, Y, comma, Z. Okay, so you have X, Y, Z. Alright, so you have your X, Y, and Z. And that's a Z, guys, not a 2. Sorry. Okay, so variable X, Y, Z, and then don't forget your semicolon after the Z. Okay, and the reason why you're able to write it like that is because it's a list. You can actually do that with any variable. It's just, it's not, you don't have to create a variable for everything. You can actually do it with every variable that's pretty much categorized together. So you have your X, Y, Z. Now what do you think you have to do? You have to define those variables. Well, where did we define the current speed? I'd assume that's where we would define the starting position as well. Just like a spawn point, we start it in the start position. Where we want our player to start? Well, we want our player to start in a new X position every time. So what we need to do is we need to, in the start position, we need to declare our variables. So what you would do is you would just write X equals the random method, and then you would put the range from your X values off the screen to X values on the screen. So right before it goes off the screen, for me, it's -8 and 8. And that's right before it goes off the screen. So that means that the enemy can fall in between that range. And what we want to do is you want to take the X, and we can use the random method to pick any random number between -8 and 8. So it could be 5, it could be -6, it could be 4, and it will appear on that X. And then we want the Y to stay the same. So y for me is 8. So I want to put y equals 8, semicolon, z equals 0, semicolon, and then I'm going to give you this one, guys, in case you're having trouble with the first step and you continue watching the video. You're going to write x equals random, okay, x equals random dot range, and then on the open parenthesis, it will say minimum integer and a maximum integer, and you're going to put your left to right right before it closes off. So for me, it's a -8 and then 8. And what that says is that the random is going to pick any number between -8 and 8. And it can also be -8 or 8. And what it's going to do is it's going to give the x that value randomly with the current speed. Okay? So what's next now is to define the starting position. We defined our x, y, and z values. Now how do we get a starting position? Just make a player spawn. And you know you make a player spawn by setting a game object's position to a new position. And we define the x, y, and z. So what you should do is you put the game object's position equal to a new position, and then it's that simple, x, y, z. No values are needed to be entered because you declared the values here. So just type x, y, z. Okay? So what you should be able to do now is run that, and you'll notice that if it's you made public variables, assuming, you'll notice that the cube, the enemy is staying in the same place. However, its current speed is changing and its x is changing. Every time you hit start, its x will change and its current speed will change. So how do we make it go down? So we talked about down and with the input manager and how to make the arrow keys go, right? So we talked about ways of seeing our options, and based off of just mental memory, I don't believe there's an input.getAxis for down. There's horizontal, and actually there's vertical. Horizontal.getDown vertical, but that's for if we want to go up and down. What do we want our players to do? We just want them to go down. So what you would do is under the update method, because we want to check every update that this player needs to go down. Every update we want them to go down. So what you're going to do is you're going to set your game object. You're going to take your game object and you're going to move him down. And how do we move? We know that moving is by translating. So we're going to do a game object.translate, which is my transform, because a game object is a transform. You're going to do my transform.translate, and then you're going to do a new position, and we want it to go on the y-axis down. And what's a new position, guys? A new position is a vector 3. And then you're just going to simply do down. Okay? So once you have that and you go ahead and save it, you're going to notice that it's going to rapidly just shoot down. It's going to start in a new position, and it's going to calculate the player speed, and it's just going to go straight down. But it's going to go faster than what we want. So how do we do that? The way we can slow it down is by time.tilt-to-time. Or I shouldn't have said that, sorry guys, real time. You want to add in real time there. By adding real time, what we're doing is we're making it to where we're using real minutes, seconds, and hours to where we can watch it move at our speed. So, but you're not done there. And you'll notice that it goes down, but it's not actually, your current speed is changing, but it's not using your current speed with it. And there's a reason for that. Right now what we have is we have the game object multiplied by the real time. What we need to have is we need to have our position.down, okay, so we want to have vector 3.down, and then we want to multiply it by our current speed, and we want to multiply it by our real time. Now, if my transform, now what you notice is that it will now go straight down, it's going to change its x position randomly, and it's going to give you a current speed randomly. So what we want to do now though is say our spaceship misses it, or yeah, it misses it, it goes straight down, it never ends. So logically speaking, what do we want to do? We want it to go from back down the screen to a new position up top. So when it goes down to the bottom of the screen, which is typically -6 or -7 for me, I want it to start back up at positive 8y with a random x. I don't want to destroy the object because then it won't come back. What I want to do is I want to just have it to where if it wraps, it's a wrap. If it goes from -6, I want to appear back up at 8. Now, I don't want it to appear in the same position now. I want to change the x value. Okay, I want the x to be random. And I want the speed to be random again. I want to change every time the player misses, I want a new one to come. A new speed and new x to replace it. So here's how you would do that. Okay, you're going to need an if statement. Okay, coming down here, you're going to need an if statement. Here, let me go ahead and just do this. You're going to need an if statement. You're going to need an if statement. Then, what you're going to need is you're going to need the if statement. Inside the if statement, it's going to have to say if the game object's position, okay, game object position, sorry guys, give me a second. Okay, here we go. So you're going to have the game object's position. Alright, and we know that the position. Okay, so game object's position, and then which position? We want the y-axis, right? So what you're going to do is simply just put dot y. And what we want to do is we want to make it less than. Okay, so if the game object's position on the y-axis is less than -6 for me, which means the bottom of the screen, it goes off the screen, I can't see it anymore. So I'm going to put, say, less than -6, okay? Less than -6, then what we want to do is we want to change the current speed, and we want to change the x-axis, okay? And then we want to set a new position for it. So the way we would do that is we have our if statement, then we have our game object, and a game object is a transform. So we have our transform.position.y, and it's less than -6. We want it to appear where? Back up at 8, right? So looking at the beginning, we declared the position already for the starting point. So, and we declared the current speed. So inside your if statement, or under your brackets after your position at y is less than 6, what you should do is just bring that down. Go ahead and bring in there current speed is equal to a random number between your minimum speed and your maximum speed. And then you're going to want to do your x is equal to a random number between -8 and 8 for me, which is your far left and your inner left, or your inner right. And then what you want to do is you want to set the position, all right, because you haven't done that yet. So you need to make a new position, which is the game object position equals new position. So my transform.position. And you want to make a new position, which is a vector 3. And you want to set it to x, y, and z. And then once you do that, guys, you're going to have a full-fledged enemy object. Every time you start the game, the enemy is going to change positions, and once it goes down to the bottom off your screen, it's going to start at a new position with a new speed. So this tutorial, guys, it is going to be the hardest thing you are going to do in this entire series. The reason why I did this was because this is going to test you. This is going to really make you think, and it's really going to put you to the test on if you remember what we learned. Okay? And in case you are having a problem with the random method, I'm going to go ahead and just write it up here for you, okay? What the random method is it's going to pick two numbers, and we're going to use the range of these two numbers. So the random method, guys, is this, okay? It's, here, let me just go ahead and do this. Alright, can you guys see? It's going to be this. So we got random dot range, okay? Random dot range, and then when you open your parentheses, it's going to say a minimum integer and a maximum integer. Okay, now what that says is inside it is, say for instance our current speed, our maximum speed, okay? My minimum speed is 5, my maximum speed is 10. This means that I want a random range between these two numbers, okay? It can be anywhere between 5 and 10. It could be 5, it could be 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, but it can't be less than 5, it can't be greater than 10. And that number is then going to be assigned to my current speed. Okay, and the way you do that is you set your current speed equal to a random range, which is going to be your minimum speed and your maximum speed. Alright guys, so listen, I know this is a lot to take in, but trust me, if you can do this, then you are going to be set, okay? You are going to be able to comprehend just about anything as far as going with basic game fundamentals. And as far as the next series goes, guys, it's going to be a lot more advanced, and this is going to give you a taste of how difficult the series may be. Because like I said, guys, I don't want to spoon feed you. I was spoon fed my entire 4 years of programming, and it was awful. I never learned a thing, and when I took the time to actually do something on my own, this is how you're going to learn, guys. You have to be able to be interactive. You have to try it on yourself. You have to go through trial and error. And here's the best part, guys. I'm a very friendly person. Constantly throughout the day, I love doing Q&A, guys. I get messages about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times a day from people who watch my videos asking me for help on the forums. And that's okay. Just go ahead and send me a private message. If you don't understand something, I will make it to where you'll understand enough to do it yourself. So my username on the forums, guys, it's Sub-Zero Gaming. Send me a PM. Send me your script with your question, and I'm not going to give you the answer, but I will tell you what you need to do to get the answer and how you can do it by yourself. Okay, if you manage to do this and you have the result that I'm about to show you at the end of this video, then you can officially call yourself an entry-level programmer. You managed to do this by yourself, without a handout, without anything. Alright, take pride in it, take pictures, show it off, do whatever, but just know that you did it by yourself and you weren't spoon-fed. On the next tutorial, guys, we're going to talk about collision, and we're going to talk about rigid bodies and how to make them interact. So when we shoot an asteroid or an enemy, it's going to explode. And when the enemy hits our player, we'll explode. So as far as the next video goes, it's going to be back to our traditional video. I'm not going to be doing this where it's interactive, but at the end of the series, for the last part, it will be another interactive lesson. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap it up. It's been about 22 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed these videos. I hope you don't hate me too much, and I hope you don't stop watching. Thanks a lot. Did everything correctly. Here's the outcome you need to have. You should have. Okay, you'll notice that the balls are changing speed as they come down, and then they're also getting a random X. So that one's slower, that one's much faster, different X every time, and you'll notice that if I collide with them, nothing will happen. Hold on, let me get what I can catch. Here we go, see? Because we haven't done that yet. Alright guys, listen, you need to take your time on this exercise. I know it's hard, and I know that right now you're probably thinking, what am I thinking? This is not interactive. But believe it or not, guys, this is interactive. I'm not doing it for you. Okay, I'm not going to spoon feed you. You need to learn to do this on your own. If you can complete this, then I promise you, programming is only going to get easier. Please try it. And if you have problems, send me a PM, and I will promise I will try and help you as best as I can. Thanks a lot.